experience is the most important part of the learning process. For learning to occur, the teacher and the learner must do something with the information and reflect on the content throughout the process. And to maximize the learning experience, we need to provide opportunities for reflection, both in action and on action. The major shift in logistics for education becomes one of the major challenges our schools encountered. To mention few, schools are running out of resources due to overwhelming printing costs and equipment. The abrupt shift from classroom-based to modular-based teaching learning designs eventually lead to imbalanced expenditures, resulting to scarcity of school resources and finances. Schools were not able to put premium anymore on the instructional management tasks of teachers in their workloads and assignments. Teachers have been burdened on printing and distribution of modules and eventually set aside the most important task, the delivery of learning. Schools and teachers have become material-centered and not anymore learner-centered. Even learners are found to be bombarded by activities in the learning modules. Because of these key challenges encountered by the department, we need to revitalize strategies that would allow its people to organize tangible innovations that benefit every Filipino teacher and every Filipino children. Due to experiences and feedbacks for the first quarter, a memo on suggested measures to foster academic ease during the COVID-19 pandemic was released, focusing now on the most essential tasks teachers and learners would expect. DepEd Memorandum Number 307 advised that there is a need to recalibrate the strategy of delivering learning activities to the learners and the need to adjust the assigned tasks for learners who are disengaged in formal classrooms. There is also a need to make sure that learners undergoing alternative modality are provided with the right materials according to ideal timeframes and practical requirements. Schools and teachers must also adopt strategies that will reduce the stress and burden of working and learning by simply focusing on the most essential learning competencies. Relative to the implementation of the new normal, the development of the learning activity sheets are encouraged across all learning areas. Learning tasks in the self-learning modules or other learning materials may be streamlined to ensure that learning development is manifested and that activities or exercises must sufficiently cover or develop the learning competencies that will lead to mastery, but with considerations that items or activities are not too many to cover the difficulty level of the same MELCs. These learning activity sheets serve as lesson exemplars that contains concepts, questions, and activities that allow learners to understand the lessons prescribed by the target content and performance standards. This is where they settle to practice the learning activities and to master the desired skills required by the competencies of the curriculum. Schools and teachers may opt to decide what format of learning activity sheets might be used in their context. All formats are acceptable. It will only depend on how the learning area play up its activities and assessment that would give easy access for students to learn, understand, and perform the lessons and the learning tasks. All formats are acceptable as long as it gives ease to learners and as long as competencies and target skills are not compromised. For this session, we will be taking a look at crafting learning activity sheets using the IPO format since most learners accordingly found it very easy and logical. These three process steps will guide them, or will guide the writers, or will guide the students towards a sequential pattern of learning even without the guidance of the teachers. The input contains the key concepts of the lessons. This part includes the discussion of topics required for the learners to learn and understand. Since key concepts are important, It must be noted that teacher developers must consider short and substantial concepts are directly given in this part of the lesson. The process is a part of the LAS that will provide learners with sample activities to allow them to understand the key concepts presented during the input. It must provide specific examples to guide learners in understanding further the lessons and the activities expected for them to perform at the end of the lesson. It might also include analytical and provoking questions that could steer thinking to help learners analyze, apply, and evaluate the learning from the content of the lesson. The output is the part of the LAS that will provide activities that will assess learners' understanding of the content and the entire lessons. This is where teachers are very critical in looking if assessment activities designed are congruent to the objectives. This will also form part of assessment of learning as learners do the required tasks in the activity sheets. Teachers must see to it that the output must measure what competency intends to measure. Para mas makita kung paano ginagawa ang ganitong uri ng learning activity sheets, isang halimbawa ang ating titingnan kung paano ito dinisenyo ng ating mga guro. Ito ay ginawa ng isang guro sa Filipino. Napakahalaga na ang isang guro ay gagawa muna ng lesson plan o banghay-aralin para bago gagawa ng material para sa mga mag-aaral. Ito ay ginawa ng isang guro sa Filipino. Napakahalaga na ang isang guro ay gagawa muna ng lesson plan o banghay-aralin bago gagawa ng material para sa mga mag-aaral. Ang banghay-aralin kasi ang magiging blueprint ng guro sa kung ano ang gagawing learning. Ito ay ginawa ng isang guro sa Filipino. Napakahalaga ng isang guro ay gagawa muna ng lesson plan o banghay-aralin bago gagawa ng material para sa mga mag-aaral. Ang banghay-aralin kasi ang magiging blueprint ng guro sa kung ano ang gagawing learner materials. Simple lang ang ating banghay-aralin. Dito makikita ang competency na inaasahan sa buong linggo, ang mga layunin na naisulat sa knowledge, skills, and attitudes para makikita ang direksyon paano makukuha ang competency, ang activity reference na magiging sanggunian ng mga parte ng lessons, at ang listahan ng mga pangalan ng tagagawa ng LAS at mga kinauukulan na bubusisi sa mga parte ng LAS upang masiguro na dekalidad ang ginawang disenyo ng aralin. Kalakip ng banghay-aralin ay ang material para sa mga mag-aaral. Ito ang material na paggagamitan ng IPO. Ang unang bahagi sa material na ito ay suriin at ito ay kumakatawan sa input. Ang parting suriin ay nagbibigay sa mga mag-aaral ng mga konseptong kinakailangang malinang ng mga kabataan. Kabilang na dito ang pagpapabasa ng mga teksto, pagpapaunawa sa pamamagitan ng mga gabay na tanong, at pagbibigay paliwanag sa mga inaasahan na maiintindihan ng bata pagkatapos ng mga gawain. Ang kasunod ay ginagamitan ng parting process. Binibigyang diin ng parting ito ang pagbibigay ng mas malawak na paliwanag sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng mga halimbawa o mga karagdagang konsepto upang mas maintindihan ang nilalaman ng leksyon batay sa inaasahang pagkatuto, mga kasanayan at mga kakayahan base sa kurikulum. Ito ang magiging point of reference ng mga mag-aaral kung paano maaaring gawin ang susunod na mga gawain. Ang pangatlong bahagi ay ang output. Dito ang parteng sumusukat sa natutuhan ng bata mula sa napag-aralang konsepto. Dito rin sa mga gawaing ito matutukoy kung ang mag-aaral ay lubos na nakakaintindi ng napag-aralan o nangangailangan pa ng karagdagang gawain upang masukat ang pagkatuto. Ang parting ito rin ang titiyak kung ang layunin o ang layuning inaasahan ay nakukuha ng mga mag-aaral mula sa mga gawaing binibigay sa learning materials. Inaasahan dito na ang mga gawaing ididisenyo o dinidisenyo ng mga guro ay akma sa layuning hinahangad ng kurikulum at competency na nakikita din doon sa idinisenyong banghay aralin. Sa kahuli-hulihang bahagi ng learning activity sheets ay maaaring idagdag ang listahan ng mga sanggunian o ibang mga pinagkukunan ng mga teksto o iba pang material na ginagamit. Kalakip din ito ang answer key bilang gabay ng bata sa pagwawasto ng kanyang mga sagot o kaya'y rubrics kung ang gawaing ibinigay ay authentic assessment o mga gawaing orihinal mula sa pagkatuto ng mag-aaral. Atin pong tandaan na isang focus ng ating learning activity sheets ay formative assessment. Ito ay gabay natin upang masuri ang kakayahan at kahandaan ng bawat mag-aaral sa bawat kasanayan upang mabigyan ng angkop na gabay at maihanda ang kanilang sarili sa sumatibong pagsusulit. And these are the things that we need to put emphasis in designing our learning activity sheets. First, competencies must be broken down into objectives, into knowledge, skills, and attitudes. Second, objectives must be specific and attainable by learners. Third, activities and assessment must be congruent to the objectives and must flow naturally. And the most important one, competencies that are common within or across learning areas can be merged to reduce preparation, reduce wastage of resources, and lessen academic burden to students due to repetitive activities. And I may end by saying, the capacity to learn is a gift. The ability to learn is a skill. The willingness to learn is a choice. Let us all learn together.